you're a California conservative, a libertarian, a moderate Democrat, believe in common sense, or just a sane person, this is the political podcast for you. It's the California Underground Podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the California Underground Podcast. I'm your host, Phil. Along with me, as always, is my trusty co-host, the best and fastest researcher in the West, Camille. How are you doing, Camille?
I'm good, thanks. How are you? Not that
Good.
the weather's important, but it's heating up. It's warming up. I feel like we have another eternal...
It finally feels a little bit like summer. The sun finally poked its head out. For those in San Diego, you know, the famous May gray. It's been really cloudy and gloomy. Like, it's kind of really depressing. But, you know, it's part of what we live with down here. 2 months, I guess, we don't really get sunshine or whatever. So I guess we have to deal with it for 2 months. And now it's June gloom. And then July and August will roll around. That's when all the heat will come in. So before you know it, we'll be like clamoring for days that are cloudy and 60 degrees. But for now, we're just all happy that the sun came out. So it's been a week since Trump got convicted. We did our episode last week on Trump. Like we said in last week's episode, we did have an episode fully planned out. And based on popular demand, we asked our Instagram followers what they think. Should we do single subject or single topic shows or multiple topic shows? And the response was actually overwhelmingly multiple topics. I take that as you guys obviously love our input on the news and commentary. Obviously, you just want to hear us comment on more stories than just one every episode. So tonight's episode is sort of like the first time we're going to do it like this. We have like a main story that we're going to do. We have other stories that we're going to discuss. Just as a, we're going to try it out. There'll be some episodes where we do it like this. Some episodes you can't really jump around too much. Like the one we did on the budget a couple weeks ago, that was like, you can't just try and fly through that in like 20 minutes and get to other stories. You kind of have to really dive into the budget. So we'll do our best to kind of shake it up and do multiple topics, let you know when we're doing the multiple topics. But yeah, tonight we're doing multiple topics. The lead story is, what the heck are special districts? Now, I will admit, until Camille sent me an article about special districts, I didn't really even know these things existed. I was like, what are special districts? And I started looking at them and I started reading this article and going down the rabbit hole. And here we are. I'm like, wow, this is kind of actually, I think it's interesting as to what it means when you look at these entities and these agencies and how much money they get and stuff like that, how much autonomy they have. So we're going to discuss that first off. Any thoughts on special districts? Because you sent me the article. That kind of prompted this whole...
Until I saw the article, it was on ocregister.com, which I read daily. Mm-hmm. And the headline was interesting to me. I didn't know what special districts were either. And I start reading the article, which the authors seem to like, they seem to be into creative writing and took a little bit of freedom of creative writing and also some politics. So it was a little hard to get through that article, I admit. It was long. There was a lot of fluff in it. But it did make me start to go down what even is this? I didn't know. I didn't understand. I'm not coming here today saying I do fully understand, but I have a better understanding. And so we want to, share that with you guys. And hopefully you will also have a better understanding and can look into your own special districts. We'll get into that a little bit. But you can't really see it. But because special districts are actually almost as local as you can possibly get, I wore my local elections.
Local elections matter. Yeah, see, it makes.
Go to the store, californiaunderground.live, click on the shop. We've got other merch there.
Yeah. It's our newest shirt. Gets a lot of good second looks. People look at because of the design, and local elections matter because. What's that?
I said you came up with the design. We're always on here saying local elections matter. And finally, a few weeks ago, I'm like, how come we don't have that on a shirt? And then you made the whole design. And so it was a collaborative effort.
It was a collaborative effort, just like tonight's episode. And in terms of what local elections, why they matter in terms of special districts, usually because the people you elect to your local government have a say in who runs these special districts. So they go hand in hand, and if you don't like how things are run, they usually kind of all coalesce together. They are all, they put people on there. Right before we hopped on, I was trying to get examples of down here in San Diego. I mean, a lot of like the transportation stuff, and then you see like people who are county board supervisors, like Nathan Fletcher was also part of MTS. He was on the board of directors for that. So we'll get into all that, what special districts are. Also, just so if you're listening right now and you're like, this sounds like a really boring topic, the other topics we'll give you that. We'll tell you what else we're talking about tonight.
Skip ahead.
That way, if you want to skip ahead and you're like, this sounds really exciting, guys, you went from Trump's getting convicted to special districts. We're going to be talking about there's a plastic bag ban making its way through the legislature. The ballot initiative to prevent transgender youth from, I guess, using or participating in sports did not make the ballot. There's a bill, AB 1995, which you looked at it. What's that one specifically about?
I think it's 1955, and that's the one that they're trying to stop school districts from being allowed to tell parents if their student is transitioning.
Mm-hmm. And there's something else. How the recall is going. We'll let you wait until the end of the episode to tell you how the recall of Gavin Newsom is going. So yeah, we got other topics tonight.
Say that the special district thing is actually not boring. It sounds like it is, but we have a little bit of interesting information. It is interesting. I mean, if you care about politics, this actually is interesting. And if you are here listening, you probably do care about politics. So
true. If you're listening to this,
I say you should listen and find out what we have to share.
I mean, you're probably just driving in your car anyway on a commute or something, like how I listen to all my podcasts. So, sit back and enjoy the ride while you're probably sitting in California traffic and listen.
Driving home from work, stuck, or
just enjoy this conversation about special districts. Anyway, so let's hop into it. What are special districts? Thankfully, one of our favorites, California Globe, actually published an article just a couple months ago on April 1st, frequently asked questions about special districts in California, giving us a little insight into what they are. So what are special districts? According to California Globe, as part of the California's local government structure, special districts are agencies that provide specialized services across the state. They are defined as, quote, any agency of the state for the local performance of governmental or proprietary functions within limited boundaries, end quote. These special districts provide specified services within a defined geographic area, and they are most often single-purpose districts without police powers. How are they governed? In general, special districts are governed by a board of directors who are either elected, local elections matter, or appointed. Voters who establish these districts can also elect the board members. Those who are appointed are usually appointed by the elected city council members or board of supervisors. Again, local elections matter. Who you put in these positions, put these people on there. Those governing boards adopt relevant policies that are carried out by the special districts. And what is the most common type of special district? It is the one focused on a single function, such as libraries, flood control, irrigation, or mosquito abatement. So if you ever hear someone joking about mosquito abatement in California and special districts and how much money they get, that's where they come from. They are set up just literally to stop mosquitoes. Not that I want more mosquitoes. I think it's good that we are trying to abate mosquitoes. How are they formed? The most common reason for a special district to be formed is due to the fact that the tax base is too low to fund all the services that are demanded by a community. So anyway, that gives you a little oversight. Now, do you want to see how high schoolers define what a special district is?
Show me anyway, so.
You're like, I'm just along for the ride. So here we are.
Yeah.
So they had a video contest called Districts Make the Difference. And this was the first place recipient of a 2000. They're only like a minute long, so we can check out all of them.
Well, I may not be the best at parking, but thankfully there's someone who can handle transportation around here.
Welcome to the Santa Clara Valley, where getting around is made easy by the Special District of Transportation. The Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority, or VTA, operates as an independent special district dedicated to delivering sustainable, accessible transportation solutions. VTA offers bus, light rail, and paratransit services while collaborating with regional rail services. And as the county's congestion management agency, VTA oversees congestion alleviation, the implementation of highway enhancements, and the advancement of pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure.
And hey, riding the bus isn't so bad after all. Plus, I get to make new friends.
So next time you're in the Santa Clara Valley and need a lift, remember the Special District of Transportation. Because even if your dog can't drive, there's always a way to get around.
Okay, so that's a video number 1. That was the first place recipient, and they got a $2,000 scholarship.
You know what? I actually like that they did this because I think it was like probably all high schoolers across California could participate, and $2,000 is a lot of money. But they actually learned about special districts, so these high schoolers knew more than us.
Yeah, that's actually a good 56-second way to summarize like what one special district does. So a lot of them are transportation, like LA MTS is a well-known special district. Health districts are another one. We'll get into that. So let's go to the second place and watch their video, their explanation of what a special district is.
Man, my deadline's due. I really need some fresh air. Did you just say fresh air? No. Yes, you did. Stop lying. Come with me. Bro, what? No, no. Where are we going? Dude, how am I here? You said you wanted fresh air, right? Welcome to the Park and Recreation District. Parks promote green spaces that conserves our natural ecosystem and it sustains our clean air and water.
They also promote public health, whether it's walking a dog or playing basketball.
The parks also improve mental health, reducing stress, anger, and you get that deadline done stress-free.
It's also a place for kids to be outside, and it's crucial for their development.
Aren't you glad you're able to come outside and enjoy the scenery?
Dude, yeah, I feel so much more relaxed now.
But isn't your deadline due tonight?
Okay, that was actually pretty funny. That one had special effects, which was pretty impressive. How did that get second place?
Do you think it deserves first?
I mean, it explained what a special district does. It had special effects, had a little bit of comedy. I don't know how that got second place, but for all the people who are listening right now, there's special effects of them transporting in and out of their classroom to park. So
the first one had a dog. Maybe that like won everyone over. Like, oh, the dog.
Yeah. I mean, they just threw a dog in there and took video of like the bus showing up and leaving. So I think they got gypped. So, well, let's watch the third place one.
Oh, hi. I'm here to tell you about special districts. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's go. So what's so special about special districts? They are focused services. They are a kind of local government that give us public services. Cool, right? Oh, sorry. One sec. My friend called to tell me that phone calls are transmitted by a form of special districts. What else are special districts? Let's find out. And more. Special districts are really special.
Bye-bye. Okay.
That one was hard to watch and listen to.
I appreciate the effort. Animating's not easy, so I definitely appreciate that.
I actually, that's the one thing I noticed. I was like, okay, that part's impressive, but the little girl voice and just I wasn't into that one.
Yeah, that one, I could see the vision, but they did not execute quite as well as second place did. Second place executed their vision of what they were trying to do with the transportation and everything. So there you go. From 3 high school videos, I think you have a better idea of what special districts do in California.
And that's
to
our
give
episode.
you, that's it. Okay. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're not going to talk about any of the other topics that you want us to talk about. Talk a little bit. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about special districts. So this is the article you sent me, and I pulled some of the more relevant information, not the stuff that they, like you said, all the fluff and everything. California has one state government, 58 counties, 482 cities, 939 school districts, and more than 2,000 independent special districts. If that gives you an idea. Special districts were born in California's Wild Wild West, back before there were city or county governments to provide essential services. But once cities and counties spread all around them, special districts did not go away. While critics have called them ghost governments and myriad grand juries have called for their consolidation or elimination, special districts persist, saying they're zealous guardians of water, sewer, transportation systems, and the like. The billions of dollars they've amassed to build, repair, and replace vital infrastructure could easily be squandered in the hands of reckless counties and city councils who might cave to competing interests and lavish those dollars on less worthy pursuits. The focus of a special district is singular and pure, they say. So let's take a look at, I'm going to pull up the article just because there's so many numbers, so anybody who's watching can actually look at the numbers themselves. So here's, oh, that's really hard to see. Can I zoom in a little bit? No. Okay, anyway. So here is a list of special districts like we were talking about, and the amount of revenue they get and expenditures and cash investments. So their revenue for the Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transportation Authority, and this is why I'm a lawyer, not a mathematician, so this 1,000. So $4.5 billion in total revenues, 3.5 in cash investments. They spent $2.1 billion. San Diego County Regional Airport Authority comes in around, oof, that's a lot. Total revenues, oh no, that's actually not that much. 441 million. Cash investments, 2.7 billion. And then total expenditures, 431 million. Although they did get a nice big fat bond from, I believe, in conjunction with the federal government and the city of San Diego, because they're now upgrading Terminal 1. And anybody who knows Terminal 1 in San Diego Airport knows it's more like a Greyhound bus station more than an airport. So good job, San Diego Airport, on updating Terminal 1, because we sorely needed to update Terminal 1. Terminal 2 is great. Lots of great stuff in Terminal 2. Terminal 1, anybody who knows San Diego, is absolutely horrible.
I've never flown out of San Diego, so
Well, just be thankful you don't fly out of Terminal 1, which is all the like cheaper flights, so like Southwest, Spirit, Frontier, like all those flights go out of Terminal 1. So it's not a good terminal, but the new terminal is going to look really beautiful. I'm trying to look at some of San Francisco.
Sorry, is it still going to be the same airlines?
I don't know. I was thinking about that because I was like, wow, you're going to have this brand new terminal. Are other airlines going to want to come in and be a part of the new terminal, like Delta and United and Alaska? Like, are they going to be like, okay, move over Southwest, like the big flights are coming in, we want the nice new terminal so we can have lounges and all that stuff?
Okay, so they're talking about airports. I'm sorry, I have to throw in this story.
Okay.
I fly out of Orange County.
Right.
Unless I'm going somewhere further international, then it's LAX. If I'm flying like up to Sacramento, San Francisco, or a short flight to Arizona, I'm okay with going Southwest. Like for an hour and a half, I'm okay with Southwest. I won't do Frontier, I won't do Spirit because I'm a snob, but Southwest, whatever, fine for less than 2 hours. So I don't remember what terminal that is for Orange County, but you know, that's where I'm pretty used to going. And then this last time for the GOP convention, I flew United, and I had never been to that terminal before that United was at. And I was like, this is like a whole new, it's a completely different world to go to that, from that terminal of like Southwest to, I didn't even know that was like how it operated.
So are you saying it's bigger and better than the one you usually?
It's bigger and better, and so just like the restaurant options, and of course that's where like the first class lounge and all, you know, like I never knew that because I'm so used to just flying Southwest from Orange County and then the bigger airlines from LAX. So
Not to get way off topic. I mean, I notice, we travel a fair amount, so like I notice when there's good terminals, like we know these airports have good terminals or where we're flying. I'll have to hand it to the brand spanking new terminal at SFO, Harvey Milk Terminal. That's a really nice terminal. You go through that, it's like a high-end mall. They have a museum in there. Like we walked through.
That's Terminal 1, right?
I think that's Terminal 1 up there. Yeah,
Because I just flew out of that, which I guess you did too.
yeah, it's like the brand new one. Like the restaurants and bars and like they're now making all these airports like luxury malls, which is a good idea because people are going to be spending a lot of time at these places. So it makes sense that um you have nice places. Like the seats are nice, the lighting's nice. There's plenty of places to charge your phone and stuff like that. Nice restaurant options. But that's not the point of what we're talking about with special districts.
Well, let's go back to it though, because I did read that John Wayne, which is Santa Ana, is getting restaurant upgrades. I didn't read which terminal, but now I know like who's paying for that because of this. Now
we know. Yeah, it's these special districts.
I literally wouldn't have known 2 weeks ago. Because it was like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago that I sent you the article in the first place. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I had no idea about this stuff.
So there you go. You have special districts to thank for really nice airport terminals because they're helping build those and making your wait while your plane's delayed just a little bit nicer. I'm trying to look at some other big ones that people will probably know. San Francisco Bay Area Rapid, also known as BART. Total revenues $1.1 billion, cash investments 1.9, total expenditures 1.1. I imagine that's down because there's been a decline in ridership of BART, and they've been talking about that. That's something like Scott Wiener's been talking about for years now. Is like we need to bail out BART, and like the legislature needs to step in and give them a loan or a bond or something. I imagine that's probably down a lot from like pre-COVID time because now a lot of people have moved out of the Bay Area, plus like remote working in the Bay Area is probably way more popular now. So people just aren't taking BART.
Right.
Plus the issues on BART with like crime and everything.
I don't know why we need to bail them out and upgrade them if less and less people are using it. But
yeah, and I think
this episode is about.
I mean, that's one of the arguments against like special districts is like why, like if you're providing a service, so there are these like quasi-governmental entities that provide a public service like transportation. If you're not providing a good product and people aren't buying it, like so they get their money from property taxes and the fees that they get from people who use it. So to Scott Wiener's point, if BART is dying on the vine and it's not doing well, wouldn't that mean BART has to, as a quasi enterprise, figure out how to make up that lost revenue or cut costs or something like that? Like, why is it okay? They're losing revenue, so we need to give them more money. That doesn't seem like that doesn't really make sense. Let's see. I'm trying to see some other ones. I mean, you can go to this OC Register and see yourself, but there's a lot on here that you've probably heard of. Look, Orange County Sanitation District, 420,000. That doesn't seem like that much for whole Orange County sanitation district.
I don't know what the sanitation district does.
Oh, here we go. This was our question before the show, before we hopped on. We were asking about SANDAG. Now, people who don't know what SANDAG is, SANDAG down here in San Diego is the San Diego Association of Governments. We've done episodes on them. We've done episodes on the CEO, who was embroiled in a bunch of controversy and using public funds and all that. So SANDAG is a special district, and their total revenue is $695,000, cash investment 770,000, and then total expenditures is 747,000. So, see, that was our question, was before, is SANDAG a special district? And again, to go back to the fact that we're talking about local elections, so SANDAG is a perfect example of why local elections matter and who runs these special districts, because it's made up of all your local politicians. So it's made up of mayors, city council people. So like who's on city council for San Diego City makes a difference. They appoint people. So the people who are sitting in Sandag making decisions about transportation and stuff like taxing you per mile, which we've talked about with Supervisor Jim Desmond.
The CEO.
Paying the CEO.
What was it? $17,000 worth of filet mignon or something like that?
Yeah. It's that stuff matters. So local elections matter because they end up picking the people who are on these boards, or they end up representing people and districts on that board. Let's see. Trying to think of okay, so here's some workers. If you want to get an idea of how much they're paid, these special districts who provide public services. In San Diego, the Palomar Health District, the CEO makes $1.7 million. So that's wages, because we know we've had people who've commented on some of our other clips and videos saying, oh, well, that's their total compensation. You shouldn't include benefits. That doesn't count as their compensation. Nope. San Diego Palomar Health District CEO makes $1.7 million. Retirement and health contribution is $100,000, which brings his total compensation to $1.8 million.
So would this be considered a state employee? Like, would this be on the Transparent California, or because it's a special district, is it now different?
I don't know that. I don't know. I guess but they have oversight by the state and the local county for financial review. So I would imagine all this information is public knowledge because it's being funded by taxes. So I bet we could look it up. I mean, if you look up, what's his name, Hassan from Sandag, he might pop up as
yeah.
A physician. It just says physician at the current physician, Kern County Hospital Authority, not the CEO or anything. They make $1.6 million. It's a hefty job just for a doctor. I'm not saying doctors aren't important. I'm just wondering why these particular physicians are making $1.6 million. They're not even a CEO or anything. They're just a physician. Let's see. Palomar Health District in San Diego. The COO makes $857,000. And this is kind of a lot. There was a story that just broke recently that the new head of like the LA Department of Public Works or Water or something, she's getting paid like $700,000.
So I think $750,000. I thought it doesn't matter. Still a ton of
money. A lot of money for running something that's supposed to be for the public benefit. I'm trying to see some other good ones. Any other? San Francisco Beta Healthcare Group Risk Management Authority makes $1 million. Salinas Valley Memorial Healthcare District President Chief Executive Officer makes 1.3. So these are good jobs, and I'm feeling like we're seeing a trend here of why work in the private sector in California when you can work these jobs. Seems like you make a lot more money doing these jobs than you do in the private sector here in California.
I agree. I have made some poor life decisions.
Why are we not working in the public sector?
Why am I here talking about it? And why wouldn't I 20 years ago go into
Tahoe Forest Hospital District? An orthopedic surgeon makes $788,000.
Okay, that's a lot of money, but I do feel like an orthopedic surgeon, like they probably deserve to make a lot of money.
Maybe. What's orthopedic? Is that feet? No. What?
Isn't that just in general breaks? Like, don't you? Isn't that like? Because I thought that's who I saw when I broke my arm. Like, I just go see an orthopedic surgeon. But
yeah. Why am I?
Maybe I'm way wrong. I don't know. Now I feel like an idiot.
So there you have it.
We don't know what we're talking about.
Special districts make a ton of money. They are represented by people who you elect to your local elections and your local seats. So when you look at your ballot come November and whoever you vote for, don't just vote for the president and then just skip the rest of it, because these people end up in these positions making a boatload of money and making big decisions about your life. Like Sandag is a good example. They've been pushing this per mile tax on drivers for I don't know how many years. They keep trying it over and over and over again. So Sandag is trying to push that through. Is there anything else we want to talk about? There was one more thing I want to talk about, but let me get your thoughts first while I'm looking for this, because I think there's one more thing I want to talk about.
My thoughts on special districts?
Yes.
So the article did, or at least one of them mentioned something about there's actually some districts that they're no longer operating in the sense of like a hospital may close. And so that district is still collecting taxes. That's the interesting thing. They're still collecting taxes. Now, this is not all. I don't want to say that special districts are nefarious, but it is sort of like, okay, so that hospital closed, it's gone, and yet people are still being taxed for it. And I don't know how you would look that up. I guess you need to go, if you own a home, you need to go through your property tax bill and look up like literally every little item and see what is that special district and find out if it's still active. Now, I would imagine, depending on when a hospital closes, if they're going to have to tear down that hospital and everything, like obviously that they need the money to do that, to demo that. That's a whole different process. And so I could see why, if it closes down in X year and a few years later, it might be still operating, because demolition's a big job. It's a lot of money. There's a lot of, things that go into that, especially if it's an older building and they're like, oh, asbestos. And like, anyway, it might be still operating for a very valid reason, but I would find out I would look at your property tax bill and look up each itemized thing and find out, is this special district still operating? What's going on? And who is on the board of it? And, like we said, come November, are they going to be on your ballot?
Mm-hmm.
And do you like what you see? And again,
Yeah.
a lot of it's necessary. There is sewer, there is water, so.
Yeah, and it's one of those cases where I think because people aren't aware of how special districts operate or even aware that they exist, people overlook their importance. And because of that, politicians go, okay, well, we're just going to put the people we want to be in there, because people maybe not paying attention, or they're not electing the right people to look into special districts and make sure that they're doing the right thing and spending our money wisely. So
exactly. Like I know in New Melinda we had 2008. If it doesn't matter, somewhere around there we had a massive fire in Yorba Linda, and a lot of it got blamed on the fact that there were supposed to be water protections in place in the hills of Yorba Linda where the fire started, and they were not. And these were things that were paid for. These were things that were promised, and they didn't happen. And tons of people lost their homes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and they, with what's the old saying that the hardest thing, once something gets started in government, it's almost impossible to get rid of it. So these special districts may have been started a long time ago for special reason or necessary reasons, but now they have become pretty lucrative positions for a lot of people to go in there and make a lot of money. So it's more important how these operate, what they are, where do they get the funding from? Is it fees? Is it the property taxes? How much is going there? Who gets on these boards? How do they select the boards? So that makes a big difference. All right. Well, like we said, we do have other topics to get to. So I'd like to pivot now to something that I'm sure is at the top of everyone's mind when it comes to California. And don't worry, the California legislature, in its infinite wisdom, has got your back. They know exactly what you're going to say, that one of the most pressing issues in California that has to be addressed is we got to get rid of these darn plastic bags at grocery stores.
I was hoping they decaf coffee, but okay.
That is another bill that died. So thankfully it was dead in committee. But I wanted to highlight, if you don't know what we're talking about, I posted this on Instagram this week, that California lawmakers actually took time to write a bill that they wanted to set up a special committee to investigate the dangers of decaf coffee. Not kidding. This is what Sacramento wanted to spend our money on.
Sorry, I shouldn't have brought it up, because now I'm like just thinking of all the things that are actual problems. And
decaf coffee.
If you were like for $1 million, name 500 things that you think are an issue in California, I would have never. I would have lost. I would have lost out on $1 million because I would not have come up with decaf coffee.
No. And I again, I said this at convention. I'll say it again. We really need a limit on how many bills these legislators can actually introduce, because if you leave them to their own devices and they can introduce as many as they want, they'll start introducing bills about decaf coffee. Move over Date Shake as the California official milkshake. Decaf coffee, Dangers, might be the dumbest bill I've heard coming through the legislature in a long time.
Okay, the second dumbest is plastic bag ban.
Second dumbest might be the plastic bag ban. So Assembly Bill 2236 and Senate Bill 1053, authored by Assemblywoman Rebecca Bauer Kahan of Orinda. Never heard of that place. And Senator, I never heard of her, and I don't know where Orinda is. If you gave me a map of California, I wouldn't be able to point it out.
This was her chance for her 15 minutes of fame, because now we're
talking about her. Catherine Blakespear, Senator Catherine Blakespear of Encinitas, I know where that is, proposed to ban any kind of plastic bag at food stores and convenience stores. Both bills will act as an expansion of SB 270, a 2014 bill that was approved of by voters in 2016 as Prop 67, which banned all one-time use plastic bags and only allowed thicker plastic bags to be purchased in stores. Cal Recycle reports...
Wait, hold on. Are you familiar with that? I don't know when you arrived to California. Were you...
Yes. I was here in 2016.
Okay. So then you know that when that passed, it was kind of weird because there was two things on the ballot. That there was the plastic bags, like no more single use, and we're going to pay for these plastic bags that can be reused many times for 10 cents. But then the second one was like the 10 cents was supposed to go towards some sort of climate change, environmental,
right.
Something.
Why they charge you now?
That one was shot down, and then the plastic bag reusable thing passed, and it kind of didn't make sense. It was like, you have to pay for it now, but the payments aren't actually helping. Like, we're not funding climate change. It was weird.
Yeah, I'd love to do a deep dive into where the heck all that money went, because it's been over almost 10 years, coming up on 8 years. Where did all that money go? Every time you forget your reusable bag and you just press, yep, I'll pay 10 cents for a bag.
Well, I think you just paid for the bag. Like, I think that, like, the grocery store bought the bag, you just paid for it. Because it wasn't, we voted no on it going towards an environmental.
Okay. So they just added it as like.
It's so bizarre.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember the argument against was like, the only people who are going to make money on this are like the grocery stores, because the plastic bags are like, they cost like pennies by the time they buy them. And then you get 10 cents for every bag. It's like a huge profit margin. So they're making a huge amount of money on the plastic bag. So article goes on to say, Cal Recycle reports legislation signed by Governor Newsom requires all packaging be recyclable or combustible by 2032, with 65% of it recycled by 2032. Shifting the burden from the consumer to the packaging producer, expect prices to go up again, but banning plastic grocery bags does not reduce disposal and recycling costs, studies over the last 9 years have shown. Like good podcasters backing everything up, I looked up that study that they cited too. This was actually done in 2013, so it's a little older, but it gives you an idea. So in San Francisco in 2007, they became the first city in the nation to ban common thin film plastic carryout bags at large grocery stores and pharmacies. In 2012, the city amended the original ban to include all retail stores and food establishments and added a 10-cent charge on all paper and reusable bags. Let's see. Plastic bags amount to less than 0.5% of the waste stream and similarly minuscule amount of landfill space. Paper bags are 6 times heavier and take up 10 times more space than plastic bags. Thus, plastic bags should have been responsible for no more than $900,000 of San Francisco's annual collection disposal costs and $300,000 of the landfill liability. So they don't take up a lot of space in land. If that's their whole thing, is they want to stop it because of environmental reasons and it's filling up the landfills, then that it doesn't really bear out that that's really what's the problem here.
No, I have read that they take longer to decompose than a plastic or than a paper bag would. But then paper bags hurt the environment because you're cutting down trees to make them. And so what's where do we win this? Like, where do we go from here?
Well, I guess they think if we ban plastic bags, that will change everything and help the environment. Forget again how much China and India probably dump into the ocean.
What are we supposed to? Are we going back to paper bags, which then means more trees?
I guess paper bags are now going to be the thing, as opposed to plastic bags or reusable bags. This was actually pretty interesting from this article. Anticipated environmental gains resulting from the ban were, quote, non-existent at best, end quote, and the ban likely did more harm than good. Consumers just switched from single plastic to double paper bags. Few consumers remembered reusable totes, which caused delays in checkout, and recycling bins were hard to find or non-existent. Additionally, this is interesting, a recent microbiological study found unacceptably high levels of bacterial yeast, mold, and fecal bacteria counts reside in reusable bags. Because
not the plastic ones, but the reusable bags, didn't they for a time ban them in grocery stores during COVID because of
right. Yeah, they were banned because people were afraid if you brought them from home,
right,
you were dragging COVID in, even though you're coming from home. So you coming from your home, wouldn't you have
your
COVID on you?
Your shoes, but in your purse.
Exactly.
But it was the bag.
It was the bag. The bag specifically was a harbinger of all the COVID. But again, we did a lot of dumb things in COVID. I still laugh at the idea that there was an actual diagram that the government put out in a video to show you when you get into your house, you should have an area, a little taped off box right in your front door where you remove all of your clothes and your shoes when you get in, because those clothes and shoes may be contaminated with COVID. And if you bring it into the house, you're going to contaminate everybody.
We did an episode on this, all the absurd COVID things that are, in case you want to check that out. We had a couple guests on and we just talked about all the fun COVID memories of,
right.
This
it was like
one-way grocery aisles and how that saved us all.
Right. The one way. Oh my gosh. One-way grocery aisles. Yeah. Sometimes you'll still see an arrow here or there in certain grocery stores of like, you're supposed to walk this way. Don't know how that helps anything. But going on, the study found that 64% of reusable bags tested were contaminated with some level of bacteria, and close to 30% had elevated bacterial counts higher than what's considered safe for drinking water. Further, 40% of the bags had yeast or mold, and some of the bags had an unacceptable presence of fecal intestinal bacteria when there should have been zero. I mean, I could see that. I mean, how many times does anybody wash their reusable bags that they get? Like, you usually throw them in your trunk. You throw them all over the place. You throw groceries in there. Like, who knows what?
We reuse them when my kids clean out litter boxes or the dog poop, like then they get thrown out, of course.
So, not great for your health to use those reusable bags. So that is making its way through the legislature right now. So that's fun.
Where are we at with that? Have they voted on it, or is it?
It doesn't say where they are specifically. It just says I assume it's still going, but
what is it?
Assembly Bill 2236 and Senate Bill 1053. So I'll let you do that while we pivot to our next story.
I'm going to totally ask for those numbers again.
2236, AB 2236.
Okay,
and Senate. Yeah, just look at that one. So pivoting right now, Camille looks that up to see where it's at.
So it passed the assembly floor on 5/21.
Okay. So it's probably going to be law because it's something that doesn't really cost the government anything. It's just the nanny state, again, gets to ban something and feel good about themselves. Keep in mind, like this year with everything that's going on with the budget and the huge deficits, a lot of stuff is getting cut, like the decaf coffee commission to study danger. That got cut because there's not enough funding, there's not enough money. But stuff like this, that is just like a pat on the back that, hey, we did something for the environment because we banned plastic bags. This could fly through just because it doesn't cost the government anything to do this. All right, pivoting again. So there was a ballot measure of one of our good friends of the show, Jonathan Zackerson. He was part of is it Save Kids California, Save the Children California or something. So I apologize, Jonathan, if I butchered what the name of your website is. This is from the AP. Proposed gender identity measure fails to qualify for California ballot. Meaning it's not going to be on the ballot. They were trying to get it on the ballot. And the basic gist of it was to create such a statewide policy to put a measure that would have provided necessary transparent for parents. But opponents said it could have threatened the safety of children who don't live in welcoming households. So this is sort of in line with the idea of the parental notification issue that's been going on in a lot of local school districts. The controversy that's happening around that. Article goes on to say proponents of the measure had sued Attorney General Rob Bonta over the title and summary he issued for the proposed ballot measure, arguing it was biased and made it harder for them to collect signatures. Bonta titled the measure the, quote, restrict rights of transgender youth, end quote, initiative. But backers wanted it changed to, quote, protect kids of California Act, end quote. They also wanted the summary updated. Those are radically different titles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're just reading the titles of those ballots, those are radically different titles. So yes. This is, if you're not familiar, the Attorney General has the power in California when it comes to ballot measures to change the title of the ballot measure. So citizens who collect enough signatures, they give them like a proposed title. And then the Attorney General, in this case, Rob Bonta, gets to step in and say, no, I'm going to change the title to what I want it to be. And there's been some discussion about like how much power he should have and whether they should rein that in a little bit, because if you have an Attorney General like Rob Bonta, this is a clear example of, well, he's going to change it from restrict rights of transgender youth to protect kids of California Act. I mean, those are completely different statements. If you're reading that and you don't really know about it and you're like, well, yeah, I want to protect kids of California. That sounds good. I'm going to vote for that. But restrict rights of transgender youth sounds completely different as well. So you might vote up or down based simply on the title, because you're not going to, most people aren't nerds like us who are going to sit there and actually go through the propositions. And we'll do a proposition breakdown once we know and we have a better idea of which ones are actually going to be on the ballot. They're still qualifying. This is from Jonathan. His quote was, while we are disappointed we didn't meet the threshold to qualify the ballot, we are encouraged by the amount of support from every sector of the state. They gathered 400,000 of the 546,000 signatures needed. That's actually pretty good. Got very close. This is the first time they did it. And a Sacramento Superior Court judge sided with Bonta after a hearing last month, saying his description of the proposal was accurate. Okay. Proponents of the measure plan to appeal. Zackerson said if successful, they hope it would allow them to reopen the signature gathering process for another shot at making the ballot. Sort of what happened with the recall. If you remember several years ago, they appealed the recall, and what happened, and because you were waiting on the appeal, you get more time to go back and get signatures. So okay. Well, that's where that is right now. But speaking of recalls? Transgender youth in California, what were you going to say?
I said recalls. Speaking of recalls, but
no, we'll get to that. We'll get to that one. There is a bill making its way through California Senate, AB 1955. California Senate Education Committee. This is from Ashley Zavala. She had put this up on X. To clear up California law in a way that would prohibit school districts from having policies requiring parents to be notified if children identify as transgender. So you have the ballot measure, you have this bill that's making its way through the Senate. So this is a big issue in California, and we've had people on to discuss this, what's going on at the local level and local control and local school board districts. And now Sacramento's coming in and they don't like what's going on at these local school districts. So they're trying to impose their will basically on all these school districts. So much for localism. It's a top-down kind of governance here in California. I'm going to just skip ahead because she gives sort of all the notes. Got out of the committee strictly on party lines, and it's heading to the Senate Health Committee. So that's where that one's at.
So it passed Assembly and is on to the Senate.
It got out of committee, yeah. So it's on to the Senate Health Committee. So now it's on to the next committee.
Okay.
They have to go through a lot of committees. It's
Yeah.
not as, yeah, and we always follow that. We do our legislative update. Or that should be coming up soon. Legislative. We usually do it around June or so to give it.
Like, I think that they only have so much time left, and then we'll probably. That's what I forget the exact date, but they're in session right now. But then we'll be like, okay, here's where we're at with.
Yeah, and a lot of them might go to the suspense file because of what's going on with the budget, and the legislature has responded to Gavin Newsom's budget. So now the back and forth begins, where they go back and forth and figure it out.
Okay, so we want to talk about this though, because at like you said, we've had school board members on and such who they're fighting to be able to talk to parents about these things. And then that's a local government issue, but Sacramento's coming in and trying to pass this new law to say, no, you can't. But former guest teacher Jessica Tapia, who was on this show, she won her lawsuit. And she was fired because she said, no, I won't. She didn't, just to clarify, she did not out a student, but they found out she was a Christian via her Instagram and basically questioned her. And she was like, no, I'm not going to hide pronouns from parents. And they're like, well, then fine, we don't have a place for you. She sued, she won. Now they didn't, I don't think she won on policy. I don't know how much you followed up with that lawsuit. And so I'm kind of asking you from a legal standpoint, but it's not like policy changed within the district, but she won because she was fired for not doing anything. She didn't do anything and they fired her, but not because she was following policy. Am I making sense? So I just want to clarify where her lawsuit fits into all this.
I think if I remember correctly, it was there wasn't a policy, but they were upset with the fact that she wouldn't allow transgender youth to go use a girl's bathroom during PE based on her Christian beliefs. So that was, as I remember, that was the whole foundation. It was a violation of our First Amendment rights to exercise of religion.
Okay. So the lawsuit, I'm not trying to pick apart her lawsuit, but I just wanted, so it has no bearing on any of this.
No, it has no bearing on what's happening in terms of the actual policies. Like, I would say, for a better context, like, we had Sonia Shaw on who discussed this, and that was more directed on point of, like, they had voted in this policy as the school board, and then Sacramento came in, Tony Thurmond came in, and they made a big deal about it, and they were at the center of all this heat from Newsom and Rob Bonta, and they were all coming down on them hard, we're going to get this law, we're going to sue you, and all that stuff. So they had set up a policy of you're required to notify parents of what's going on. And Sacramento didn't like that. So Sonia Shaw, that episode is, if you want to go back and listen to it, I think that's more on point with what's going on with these policies and why does Sacramento care about passing this law right now, and why are opponents like Jonathan Zackerson also proposing these ballot measures in terms of what's going on with this, parental notification, transgender youth, all that stuff going on in schools. So,
okay, sorry, just wanted to get clarification there.
Yeah, I think if anyone wants to go back and listen to those episodes, Yeah, go back and check them out. We did a lot more in-depth discussion about it there. So you can see this is a big fight, and I wonder how much of this is purely just politics from people in Sacramento, that they just don't like the idea that local school districts can do this and go against like their approved narrative or their accepted narrative. Like they just don't like that. Like they're always for, the Democrats love spouting out like, we're fighting for democracy. And it's like, but just not that democracy. Like we don't like when local school boards that are duly elected by the citizens of that district vote in a policy that the voters approve of because they voted them in. And then Sacramento comes and goes, no, you can't do it like that. You can't, no, we don't approve of that democracy. And it's kind of like what's going on right now, I think, at the Supreme Court, is they heard arguments about whether or not Californians can vote on a certain ballot measure regarding taxes. Because I think that, don't quote me on that, I believe the ballot measure wants to make it harder for lawmakers to raise taxes. And so obviously people in Sacramento are fighting like hell to be like, no, we can't let people vote on that. Like, no, voters are too stupid to understand. And that I'm not being hyperbolic. That was actually Newsom's attorney's argument, is that voters are too stupid to vote on this stuff because they don't understand it. So that was literally their argument, was like, we don't think the citizens are smart enough to vote on complex issues like taxes. So we think
they won't teach them at public schools and make them smarter.
No. I mean, instead of like advocating, like maybe people should learn about taxes in schools. I think if people learn more about taxes in schools,
taxes.gov website, taxes.ca.gov, and like, what's you?
What do taxes go to? Why do you pay taxes? I think that's probably why they don't. I think that's probably why specifically they don't teach taxes in public schools, because they don't want people to know.
Like, don't open the curtain.
Don't open the curtain. Yeah, big proponents of democracy, just not on the stuff they don't approve of. But speaking of Gavin Newsom and ballot measures, do you want an update on how the recall of Gavin Newsom's going?
I absolutely do want an update on that. Okay,
so Rob Pyers, if you follow him on X, I'm going to say you're a fellow political nerd. Even more so if you've set your notifications to go off when he tweets, because
I don't have notifications on anybody, so I guess I'm not.
Well, if you want breaking news of what's going on, Rob Pyers.
I follow him. I just don't have notifications on. That's all.
Yeah, he's part of the California Target Bot, so they do a lot of like data and stuff like that. They do a lot of great work collecting all this information. So he had recently tweeted or X'd or whatever you call it now, how the recall is going. And as of the second reporting period, they had additionally 0 signatures on top of 0 signatures they already turned in during the first reporting period. So over 2.
What is going on here?
I would say it's probably not for a lack of people who want to sign a petition to recall Gavin Newsom, because I would wager there's millions of people in California who would sign. Yeah. Maybe not millions, but there's tens of thousands. There's a lot of people, tens of thousands, who would sign that petition. Who would sign a petition to recall Gavin Newsom. So the fact that you show 0 signatures in 2 reporting periods, and if anybody is not familiar how we got our start, how I got to know Camille, we are always on high alert for grifters and people who are using the political process to make money. I don't know who runs this, but if you're not getting any signatures after 2 reporting periods in a year that Gavin Newsom's facing a $73 billion budget deficit and record homelessness and $21 billion or $24 billion of homelessness spending we don't know what we're in, you didn't gather any signatures in 2 reporting periods, I might suspect you're not doing this for the correct reasons. I would think you're doing this for all the wrong reasons. What are your thoughts?
I actually, I think it was on one of your posts that I responded to somebody about that and said, I'm starting to question if they've turned in 0 signatures, then who's making money off of this? Who's benefiting from this? 0. Okay, so we talk about very large numbers, inflated numbers all the time, but 0, while you can argue it's not a number or whatever, it speaks volumes. It's that 0 is very loud here. So yes, I do question, okay, the recall, I believe, is bringing in money. Who's donating? Now, is it like, I don't want to just outright say, okay, someone's benefiting from this, but are they don't have volunteers to collect signatures? The people that started this recall aren't collecting signatures themselves? Are the volunteers not turning in the signatures? Are people just tired and not signing? But like you said, there's got to be at least tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands who want to sign this. Yep. I personally haven't seen this come across my way yet. Like, well, my personal belief, opinion, whatever, is like, we're in an election year. Let's just flip Assembly and Senate seats. Let's not worry about Newsom. If I was coming out of a grocery store and presented with this ballot, I would sign it, because I think these people have every right to have it on the ballot and vote. So I would absolutely sign it. It has not come my way, which I'm surprised, especially in the conservative city that I live in. They're usually all over, and I'll be like, oh, I signed that one already. I have not seen it. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it. No, I haven't. I've never seen a petition. No one's asked me like, hey, do you want to sign this? I'm looking at it right now, and maybe we just do a live check right now to show like, this is where we go when we need to figure out what the heck is going on. You can go to California.
Show me what you have. I'm very curious.
The Secretary of State. Go ahead, share. So they're called Rescue California, to support the effort to recall governor.
Okay.
If you go to general information, so they're active. So this is how you kind of tell. Also, I double checked like the ID. Like, always double check the ID, which is like right here, the filer ID. And I apologize to people who are on audio who don't know what the heck we're looking at. We're at the California Secretary of State Cal Access Search. It looks like total contributions in 2023 totaled over $1 million, and they only spent $150,000.
Okay, can you click on the filings?
Sure. Is it this one? Electronic file.
About to point. You're not.
Yeah, you're pointing. I'm like,
and then, but on the middle of the page right now, where it says view, it should be the bottom. Something filings.
Electronic filings.
Yeah, that. It's very tiny on my screen. I apologize. I'm like trying to read. Okay, my phone thinks I was just trying to access Siri. Calm down. So there's filings.
Right.
So I guess click on the most recent one.
Filing period. This is from July 1st, 2023 to December.
Okay, so it's not going to be that recent, but we could take a look.
Actually, that's a statement of organization. So.
Okay. Well, no, it's okay. That should show you something.
General Purpose Committee, Rescue California, based out of Newport. Treasurer is Kelly Lawler.
Okay.
Don't know who Kelly Lawler is. The calgroup.com. That might be interesting to see who the Cal Group is. KAL group.com.
I suppose I'm supposed to go there. Tell you.
You could, yeah, while we're looking at this. So contributions received.
KALgroup.com.
Yeah.
It's a trucking company.
Oh, interesting. I mean, could be somebody who's just, they're just getting it. Like they're just doing it because they believe in this.
Right.
So let's see.
Which good for them, because a lot of us all say and complain and then don't do anything. Someone did something. We don't all have to agree, but they did something.
Monetary contributions for this period, so this is from July to December of last year, is only $2,500. Loans received $1 million.
Okay.
That's interesting. And then it says expenditures, they only spent $150,000. So
on what?
Let's look. Let's see. These are the
It's very small on my screen, so you're gonna have to read to me what's happening here.
Well, let's see. Hold on. We can figure this out. How do I? Adobe switched all their stuff around. Is that better?
It's a little better, but I mean, you can, yeah. Okay.
So this is all the people who donated.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Schedule D, Schedule E.
I think I looked at this before, but I don't remember what's on it. And I wasn't actually convinced that I was at the right campaign. And then I kind of closed it and didn't do any more research. So, but I see a lot of payments going to Antidote, which of course
is normal.
That's normal.
Gilliard Blanning and Associates.
Law firm?
Probably a law firm. $14,000, $7,500.
What's the code is CNS? What is that?
I don't know what CNS is. Oh, here it is. Campaign consultants.
Okay.
So they've paid campaign consultants $14,000.
Yeah.
Almost $30,000. The Monaco Group, LIT, I imagine is litigation. Oh, campaign literature. Let's see. Callahan and Blaine, professional services, $23,000. Callahan Blaine, a lot more money. Amount incurred, Callahan Blaine, $50,000. So a lot of.
So this was here, and this did not get approved until this year. So they obviously could have been political consultants, lawyers, help us get this on the ballot kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's approved. We don't have updated numbers. But now I want to see, are they paying anybody to gather signatures? I would imagine not, based on the 0 signatures gathered.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's a lot of money to spend to people to get this all ramped up just to not collect any signatures in 2 reporting periods.
I don't see any, at least on that, there wasn't, ad space. There's not radio time, media, that sort of thing.
No texting, stuff like that.
Be, now that it's a go ahead, we may see that now, but they already got that $1 million loan, and that's kind of worrisome because $1 million is a lot of money for something that doesn't seem to be gaining traction.
Right. So it's $150,000 spent out of over $1 million raises questions, especially when you have to get it on the ballot this year. You're spending money because you want to get this, and you don't have that much time to get this on the ballot or get this qualified. So you're trying to get this done in a certain amount of time. You can't just start a recall and take years and years and years. You get a certain amount of time to collect signatures. So the fact that you've wasted 2 reporting periods and you've collected no signatures really does.
The filings, I think, are due at the end of this month.
Mm-hmm.
And so we won't see them until about then. But 0 signatures doesn't sound like there's any monetary action. So I'm not expecting much from these numbers. And then if I see that they actually did pull in a ton of money, but still gathered 0 signatures, that's where I'm going to really raise questions and go through that.
If there's
going to start to be like grifter alert.
To raise that amount of money and not do anything. But they're not spending on lavish stuff. Usually we've looked into stuff and we've been like, wait a second, this doesn't make sense. I'm trying to get an idea of So Ann Hyde Dunsmore is who is the chair of Rescue California, who's starting this. Might be interesting to see what she's up to or what she's doing. But anyway, that's an update on what's going on in the recall. So no signatures, 2 reporting periods. Haven't gotten any closer to that, but they have raised a lot of money. So good for Rescue California. So we'll keep an eye on it, and I think this might be something interesting to kind of look into more as to what's going on here. Maybe ask a question. Maybe put something out there on X, like what's going on. They've reported no signatures, but they've raised $1 million. What's going on here? Rescue California. Just keep an eye out for that. All right. Any other final thoughts about the recall?
Nope. I'm definitely just interested to see what happens.
Yeah, our antennas are definitely raised on this one. So we're definitely going to keep an eye on it and see what is going on here. Keep an eye on those filings, who they're paying and stuff like that, and how much more money they raise. So with that, that's our multiple topic episode. We covered a lot. We had way more than an hour of content for you guys. Told you it wasn't just going to be all about special districts, which were super interesting anyway. At least I hope you guys found it super interesting for special districts, and you learned about plastic bags and the recall. So here we are. We'll try to do, like I said, we'll try to do more multiple topics. I understand why people probably want us to do multiple topics. So much happens in California. Maybe a story doesn't fill up an entire hour podcast. Doesn't mean we shouldn't comment on it. I think it's important to keep people apprised of all the stuff that's happening in California, not just one topic at a time. So appreciate the feedback of everybody on Instagram who voted in that poll to tell us try out multiple topic episodes. This is our first one, and you can let us know how you like it. With that, any final thoughts or no?
I'm good.
Okay. With that, make sure you like, share, subscribe, review, all of that stuff. Helps with the algorithm, helps people find us and all that stuff. Make sure you follow us on social media. Instagram is probably the most active place we are also on X. And the best way you can support this, that is absolutely 100% free. Well, there's another way you can support this show, is you can go check out our merch at californiaunderground.live. Shirts like Local Elections Matter, which is hot off the presses, our newest design. You can go support us there. That helps pay for, these little things like microphones and stuff, and like when we're traveling and doing live podcasts and stuff like that. Or the other way you could support us that's 100% free is you can share this with a friend, family, colleague, coworker. I would double check with the coworkers, make sure you're on the same plane politically. You never want to be that coworker who just sends out podcasts without solicitation. That's never a good idea for your working space, for your working environment. Make sure you're on the same level. Have a couple conversations first, maybe. Usually open up with complaining about taxes. See where that usually gives people a good idea of where you lie on the political spectrum. So yeah, share it with somebody who might enjoy this. And with that, we'll see you on the next one. Later.
Thank you for listening to another episode of California Underground. If you like what you heard, remember to subscribe, like, and review it. And follow California Underground on social media for updates as to when new episodes are available.